Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to episode 18 of Alex Likes to Knit. I have really just a few things today. I haven't been like pumping through socks or anything like I feel like I normally do, but I do have a few cool things to talk about. I have one finished object, some progress on my little bit larger whip, and then two new cast-ons that I'm going to share today. At the end, when I'm done talking about knitting, I'll talk a little bit about some sewing inspiration and some plans and ideas that I have, and a little baby bit of an art update for people who might be interested but don't watch all my art videos, because it has been an incredible few weeks for my art and my painting and everything. So I gotta tell everybody. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll talk about we can talk about what I'm wearing first. It's the same thing I've been wearing the past several episodes because I am obsessed with this sweater and I wear it every moment that I possibly can. And this is the Coven Cardi by Shay Johnson. And yeah, check out my past episodes if you want all the details on it. I worked on this for a long time and talked about it a ton, but basically I knitted a size 4. I used an affordable yarn, Barocco Vintage, which is a worsted weight yarn that is part acrylic, part wool, part nylon. And I am completely obsessed with it. It's just a super plain worsted raglan cardigan, but just the fit and the color is like perfect for my style, and I have been wearing it all the time, and it is getting warm here in San Antonio, so I'm not gonna be able to wear this much longer. I'm looking at pretty soon. I probably could have already done it. I need to just wash it, probably reblock it, and then put it away for the summer, which will be a little bit sad, but then it'll be so exciting to get it out again in the fall. So that's what I'm wearing. Let's talk about my first finished object. And this is a pair of socks that I was working on last time. So I don't have the finished objects with me because I went to visit my parents in Louisiana and I left the socks there so that my mom can have them at Mother's Day. The socks that I finished are the Monde socks by Summer Lee. And this is a pattern from her book, The Sock Project. Let me grab that. And I put like a note. I think I just put text on the screen. Monde it means fool the world or like trick the world in French. And which makes sense because it's like a slip stitch pattern that looks like, it kind of looks like stranded color work, right? But it's just slip stitches that make it look almost like a checkerboard. So it's easier than it looks. And Trompe Monde is also a Pixies album, which I feel like is so fitting for Summer Lee because she is like super rock and roll. Like she loves like indie 90s 2000s music, which is fun because so do I. Yeah, so I finished them. I have a picture. I used 2 different yarns. One is a Barocco Vintage sock, the dark color, so that's like a wool nylon acrylic blend sock yarn, and the other one is a superwash BFL tweed. So very different bases, but I felt like they blended fine together, and just having one being the tweed and that being the contrast color, there's just a few little pops of tweed that don't really, I don't know, you almost can't tell. But my mom really likes green, so I thought this would be a fun little combination, have enough contrast but also not be like too wild. So yeah, I really like how those came out. I have notes on my yarn used too. So yeah, I started with 52 grams of dark green and 54 grams of the light green. I knew it would be enough because in the pattern it just says that you need a 50-gram ball of each color. But I did figure out how much yarn I used. So I used 37 grams of the dark green, which is the main color, and 23 grams of the contrast color. So this is great for leftovers from socks. And just so you know the size and everything that I made in case you have like something close to that. I did the 64 stitch size. I usually do a 56 or 60 stitch sock, but I figured the slip stitches would take some of the stretch out of the fabric, and they definitely did. So I'm glad I did the 64 stitch around size. I did 5.5 repeats on the leg. I think I did 15 rounds for the cuff, something like that, and then 5.5 repeats on the leg, and then including the ones that are in the gusset, I did 9 repeats in the foot. So you can get an idea of how many stripes I did. That's how much yarn I used. If you want to, make it longer or whatever, that will change your yardage used. But yeah, the pattern was super easy. Like I said, it did kind of tighten up the fabric and lost some of that stretch, but it still fit well. And I'm glad that I just had the extra stitches in there. It was no issue once you put it on. I was trying it on my own foot and it was fine. One thing I did kind of have to be careful about, and that was kind of bugging me, is on the side, you're doing these skinny stripes because you're only working one yarn at a time. And then you're carrying the yarn up one side, and it was getting tight on that side. And I was really trying to purposefully not make it do that. I wasn't just not paying attention and it got tight. I was trying to make it not be weird, and it was pulling and being weird on that one side. And I think it'll be fine once she starts wearing them and all that. I didn't block them, but yeah, that was just one little note about the pattern. If you're making these, see what you want to do about that and see how it feels, and maybe give yourself a little bit of extra room. But yeah, that's my finished object. Let's do my larger work in progress. Let me grab that. Okay, so we got the green sweater that I'm wearing, the green socks that I finished, and this green shirt that I have been working on. So this is my Tolsta tee. And I've definitely made some good progress on it. I have a marker in here somewhere. Yeah, so my marker is right here. I was just under starting the body, just a few rows in, last episode about 2 weeks ago. And I thought, I'm just gonna knit, stockinette on this, and I'm gonna get it done super quick. I'll get it done in a week or two. Yes and no. I was working on this a lot, right after that episode, and it's 2 strands held together. One is a fingering weight. Grab them out of here. One is a fingering weight hand-dyed 100% cotton. And then this one is kobu, so it's a cotton and rayon from bamboo. So these don't have the give that wool has, and it is a little bit hard on my hands. I think the gauge is a little bit tight for using cotton too. It's not a tight gauge, you can see through it a little bit, but I think for using cotton for my needle size, and I'm used to doing a pretty loose gauge, so I went down 2 needle sizes to get gauge for the pattern. It's just kind of a lot on my hands, and I can't work on it for very long at a time. So I slowed down a lot on this. But today I put it on waste yarn because I couldn't find my tubing, or maybe I think I just lost some of my tubing, but put it on waste yarn so that I could try it on. I'm not going to show it because it's still pretty revealing, but it's fitting really, really well. And I need about 5 more inches to get the length that I want. So my plan is to place a marker, put my needle back in, and do 3.5 inches of stockinette and then 1.5 inches of ribbing on the body. And that's all I need. And I mean, here I probably have 7, 8, let's see. yeah, I've done about 7.5 inches so far on the body. So I did that in 2 weeks and spent a long time really not working on it. So I only need to do like half of that in the stockinette and then work on the ribbing. So it just feels a lot more doable to actually get the body finished. And I'm glad that I can move my marker and start working from there and like start seeing that progress again. Because I would really like to have this and wear this. I think it'll be nice for like spring, summer here. Because it's cotton and I think I'll be able to like wash it easily. Because I think if I wear it outside at all, I will get sweaty and stinky, but then I can wash it. And yeah, I just think this is going to be a nice piece to have and I want to wear it, but knitting it is kind of irritating my hands. So we'll see. I'm just going to keep taking my time working on this and you know what? I'll get it done eventually. Also, like right after last episode, so I was working on this and I was also working on the Trompe socks, which have these slip stitches that you carry up like a few rows. So that is also like a tighter gauge and like harder to kind of manipulate on the needles. So I think both of those were kind of irritating my hands and then I wasn't able to knit as much. And that was a bummer. That was a bummer. So whenever I finish this, I do want to try to do another summer top. I think I want to do the Stripey Turtle Tank by Emily Curtis because I can wear a sports bra with it. It's got good like coverage. I think that will suit my style pretty well, but then it's also sleeveless, which I think will be nice, a nice change from like this having the sleeves. So I want to do that, but I need to not do the cotton yarn again. I don't think that is good for my hands and everything. So I'm gonna have to look at my local yarn store. I thought about using some sock yarn that I have in my stash. I have a lot of options for colors, but I think that I want to do it in one solid color. You could do 2 skeins of sock yarn and stripe them. I don't have anything that I have two skeins that are the same. So I'm going to see if I can find maybe a cotton merino and try that to give me like a little bit of summeriness, but have the give from the merino. I'm going to try that and see how it goes. And if that, I think I'll be able to finish it even if it takes a while. But if that doesn't work, like maybe knitting summer tops just isn't my thing. I have knit a tank top that I really liked before, but I was knitting it with alpaca yarn, so it was super soft and it was fine for my hands and everything. But then it didn't wear well. Like it was like sticking to me and like then it kind of felted like that. It didn't work well as a summer top because it wasn't really a summer yarn. So I want to see if a cotton merino would work well as a summer yarn for me. And if not, I'll probably just knit socks all summer. Because it doesn't really matter. Like I live in Texas. I don't need a summer sweater. I love that some people have these like different seasons where they can wear like heavy sweaters and then light sweaters, like that kind of thing. I do not have that. It is like almost too hot for this because I will get so sweaty during the summer because it'll be like 100 degrees. But like I don't want to wear anything nice because it's just going to get gross immediately. Like I just want to wear like a polyester tank top. You know what I mean? So we'll see. And maybe like doing a linen tank top or something, like maybe that could work really well. But what if it's hurting my hands? I don't want to do that. So we'll see. But the good news is this is fitting really well and I feel confident that I can keep working on it and that I'll have more progress next time. And I'm liking it. So good Tolsta tee. I really like this pattern. Now we can talk about socks. Let's do this just vanilla sock first. I did finish one. Let me get my sock blocker so I can show you. So this is a sock that I finished for a friend of mine who had a birthday a few days ago, like last week. I haven't gotten a chance to see her yet, which is kind of good because I'm not done with the second sock. But this is the sock. It's just my vanilla sock pattern. I used a Yarn Bee colorway that I got from a D-stash, and it's a Stellina base. Don't know if you can see the sparkles, but it's got some sparkle to it, which I didn't think I would use that for myself, but it's something that reminds me of her. I think that she'll enjoy that. So yeah, just a fun pair of vanilla socks for my friend, and I used just my regular vanilla sock recipe. So I use 2 16-inch circular needles instead of like magic loop, and I cast it on 56 stitches, knit 15 rounds of 2x2 ribbing for the cuff, 50 rounds stockinette for the leg, slip stitch heel flap and gusset with 18 slip stitch repeats, decrease every round in the gusset, and then I did 55 rounds in the leg before I did my little square toe. So super easy. I've just kind of been bringing this places and working on it, and I have started the second sock. I am working on the heel flap of the second sock. You can see the sparkles a little bit there. Yeah, so I'll probably finish this for next episode. I'll probably finish these pretty soon. And just regular vanilla socks like I'm always working on. Last work in progress is another sock. This one is a lot of fun though. I am doing a stripy pink sock for a friend of mine. These are so bright. They look so cool on camera. I love this. I'm not like a super pink person, but one of my best friends is a pink person. And I made her one pair of socks before. I made her a pair of shorties, but I had made us like matching ones. Like we have like the exact same pair, and like I don't wear mine that much anymore because they're kind of annoying to wear. So that's a bummer that she doesn't have like a really good pair of socks from me. But her birthday is coming up, and I am going to be giving her these pink stripy socks. Let me tell you about the yarn and then how I did the stripes. So my main color is a Yarn Bee colorway that I got from a D-stash. I've used it before, just like a leftover from some other pink socks that I made for someone. I'm missing one of my minis. Probably in the living room. But my minis, I have these two, and then this hot, like super hot pink. See? And these are, yeah. These are really fun, different, variegated, speckled, just crazy fun pink things. All three are from the Ruby and Roses 2023 Advent Calendar. And that Advent Calendar had a lot of like super bright, fun pink minis that are just like not super me. It had a lot that I really liked too. It was a lot of different colors, a lot of different vibes, which was cool that it was so much variety. But I love that I can use like these fun ones for my friend. I think it's gonna make her so happy. I didn't do anything special at the ends. I'm just gonna have a ton of ends to weave in. But I don't really care. And I'm on the toe. Like I am just about to be done with this. I could have finished it before I recorded, but I was like, I should probably go ahead and record that, and then I can work on knitting while I'm editing and everything later. No big deal. But yeah, so almost done with sock 1, and I've been working on this just this week, so yeah, pretty quick. This has been a lot of fun, so I've been working on this one a lot. So that's it! That is the knitting. A lot of knitting. Yeah, I'm excited about my projects. Not as much like good big exciting news as like my last episode was, but I'm still happy with my progress and I wanted to go ahead and record. I'm going out of town tomorrow, so I have some yarns picked out to bring. And I'm just gonna work on socks while I'm there, and we're gonna have quite a bit of downtime, I think. We're gonna be going to breweries and kind of hanging out for like most of the week. I'm going to Asheville because a close friend of mine is getting married there. So Saturday we have the wedding, we have the rehearsal dinner on Friday, brunch on Sunday, but we're gonna be there Wednesday to Tuesday. So we have all this other time in Asheville where we're going to be going to breweries, hanging out, whatever the bride wants to do. If she wants to hang out with us, that kind of thing. So I'm going to bring a lot of sock knitting for brewery time and like hotel time. Probably won't do any yarn shopping in Asheville, but you never know. If I do find a yarn shop, I'll probably try to just get a mini or two, because I liked that I did that on my Arizona trip. That just like wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't that expensive. So maybe I'll come back with a mini or something. Yeah, so that is where I'm at with these projects. I'm super excited to work on socks and everything this coming week and then get back to my shirt whenever I come back to San Antonio. And yeah, it's going really well. It's my spring knitting. It's mostly socks. I'm looking at doing summer sock camp, of course, with Crazy Sock Lady, because I'm going to knit a bunch of socks anyway. So that's starting at the end of May. And so I'm going to try to really keep track of the socks that I'm making, make Ravelry pages, post them on Instagram. Like, I'm going to try to do all that for summer sock camp. I think that'll be fun. Okay, yeah, so I want to talk about sewing. I talked about sewing a little bit last episode, and I kind of had these grand plans to like sew garments for myself, and I worked on a shirt. I worked on like a little top. I cut out the pieces and started sewing in the sleeves, and I got frustrated with it and I did not like it. And I have a few specific issues with this piece. I don't think that I'm like incapable of sewing garments, but I have like thrifted fabric and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make it work with my thrifted fabric. This will be so cute and easy, and like, you know, it's like, it was $5 like a year ago. Like, it's super cheap. So yeah, so I really wanted to make that work and it just wasn't right for the project. It didn't really work for the project. And it's like, okay, well, I really want to make this project now. I really think it would work well in like a linen, but what if I go and spend $40 on linen and then it still doesn't look right and I don't like it and don't want to wear it? Like, it doesn't have, you can seam rip and like, you know, redo a seam or something, but it doesn't have the ability to just fully like undo it and retry that you do with knitting. So I think I'm going to pause on the idea of like sewing summer garments for myself. I'm just going to kind of let that go for now. Because I just got frustrated with it. It wasn't fun. And I don't want to like, at this point, I think to make it work, I would need to go and invest more money into it, which I just don't want to do right now. So that is on pause. However, I am super pumped about quilting. I had a quilt block that I showed last episode that I really liked how it came out. And I just have so many ideas for quilted things that I want to make. I want to make a quilt for my living room. I found a quilt pattern in a book that I own that I would love to make for a family member. And for my art and painting practice, I've been thinking a ton about this idea that I've had to make like quilted and knitted and like crafted pieces that can both go on the wall and to make like pillows and things to be part of like an art installation. And that idea is just really exciting to me. So I'm going to lean into that with like quilting specifically first. So I'm thinking, I don't know that I've really talked about this like at all on this channel, but this idea is to do a collection that I'm thinking of calling like Craft and Comfort. And like this painting of the knitting hands is kind of part of this idea of like making a fine art exhibition that is all about craft and making by hand and the like traditions and the techniques that like generations of women have passed down to us, and the warmth and like connection that crafts, like handmade craft pieces hold, and the value that they hold, which I think people who are watching this understand, like the beauty in like an heirloom knit piece or a handmade quilt. And I think that idea and like that beauty, to bring that into a contemporary art space. I mean, it's not like I'm not like the first person that's ever done this, but to do like really traditional quilted techniques and put that into a contemporary art space, I think could be really interesting. So if I want to make that happen, I need to make the work. So it's like being an artist, having all these ideas. I want to do an exhibition. I want to make this big collection. Like, you can't just wait for that opportunity to come to you and someone to say, oh, I want to like show your work. Like, you have to make the work for anyone to even consider showing it. So I am going to start making the Craft and Comfort collection. I'm going to start with some pillows, and because I submitted a proposal for a grant to like do an art project, and this is basically the proposal that I submitted was to do paintings, wall hung quilts, and pillows. So I think starting with those pillows will be good because it's just a smaller project. It's more feasible. I can really get back into the habit of quilting and sewing and think about how I can incorporate concepts, whether it's like with text or just like adding a lot of different mediums and everything. Like, I think adding some crochet and some cross stitch and some like vintage fabric, like different elements to where it's got a very like maximalist grandma's house like vibe will like make it feel more like a piece of art. So I'm thinking about playing with that on a pillow first because it's a smaller scale object. And yeah, so basically whenever I come back from Asheville, I am going to make pillows. Yeah. That's basically it. And I will be probably talking about it in different videos. I think I want to make a video that's kind of a vlog of like starting this process and this project, and just get more into quilting and do some projects for myself and my family too. So I'm excited about sewing, and I think partly because I'm kind of discouraged about my summer knits, I'm like, let's do some sewing. I think that'll be awesome. And I think talking about it here will be cool, as well as making other videos where I go more into the process, while I still continue to knit socks and paint and do all that. Like, there's room for all of it in my life, even if it means that I slow down on my knitting and I'm not doing a pair of socks every single week. Like, we're all gonna be okay. I think that'll be good for me to try something new and incorporate this craft more into my fine art practice. So yeah, that's the plan. I wanted to give you an update on that. That's the plan. But yeah, so that's my sewing news. And yeah, to wrap up, I really just wanted to talk really quickly about what's going on with my art right now, because everything has been like really good and really exciting. And I think that's another reason why I didn't do a ton of knitting these past few weeks, because I did a ton of art events and made a bunch of paintings. I won a painting competition, which is crazy. Like, it's just been so wild. So I'm not going to go into detail, but I am also working on a video that is all of the art I made in April, and I'm going to talk about these paintings. I'm going to talk about this competition, all the work I did in my sketchbook, and the ideas that I'm playing with that. So I'm planning to post that video before I post this one, so it should already be up, and I'll link it for you if you want to see what's going on with my painting and my art practice. So yeah, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching and supporting me. I am just loving it. I'm doing really well with my business and my art and my knitting right now, and I'm really, really grateful for everyone who's been watching my videos. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!